Today's webinar will discuss the importance of using essential eligibility criteria in adaptive sport programs. Having a robust EEC ensures your program has objective criteria to determine who can safely participate in an activity and helps you avoid the legal pitfalls of stereotyping and subjective determination by staff and volunteers. The webinar was created by Crystal Skane, Director of Education and Training at Northeast Passage. Crystal oversees training and continuing education opportunities for staff and volunteers at Northeast Passage. She also teaches within the University of New Hampshire's Recreation Management and Policy Graduate Program on the topic of adapted sport and recreation facilitation. Crystal is a recreation therapist, certified brain injury specialist, and adaptive paddling instructor trainer through the American Canoe Association, and maintains additional instructor certifications available through USA Archery and USA Water Ski.
Thank you for having me here today to talk about essential eligibility criteria. I was first introduced to EEC early in my professional career as I began teaching adaptive paddling workshops. The Adaptive Paddling Committee within the American Canoe Association has been providing education on essential eligibility criteria for many years. In my professional career, as I have acquired professional certifications to support my programming responsibilities with Northeast Passage, I've developed a deep appreciation for risk management, something I'm sure that you all are equally passionate about. And an important aspect of providing safe programming is evaluating how we're managing and training our staff, how we are facilitating our programs, what types of accommodations or adaptations are we prepared with and qualified to provide, and who is qualified to safely participate. I am not a subject matter expert, nor am I familiar with the unique aspects of all types of programs or activities, but I hope the information that we cover today provides you with a baseline of information and resources to evaluate the EEC your programs are presently utilizing or striving to develop. As we outline and define EEC, we will discuss how your risk management analysis and strategies are relevant to developing EEC. Knowing your industry and your activity will help you identify the functional skills that anyone needs to be able to perform to participate safely in an activity. We will review the integration mandate of the Americans with Disabilities Act and the purpose of EEC. We will discuss how to develop EEC and review a few samples of published EEC, which can be used as a starting point when you are seeking to adopt EEC for your own programs and activities. Then we'll wrap up with a quick review to create seamless integration in your programs, encouraging program staff to assess management and facilitation strategies in relation to your program goals that may enhance reasonable accommodations and modification in facilitation strategies. As recreation professionals, we recognize that risk is an inherent and often desirable component of recreation participation. It is our duty to identify and anticipate as many of these risks as possible, to continually evaluate our risk management strategies, to be purposeful in our therapeutic use of risk, and to understand that embracing risk as a necessary component of an activity does not mean that all risks in the activity are acceptable. Consider a roller coaster ride. While riding a roller coaster has a high perceived risk for many people, the real or actual risk of riding a roller coaster is statistically low, pending you meet the baseline criteria for safe participation. What is the essential functional threshold for riding a roller coaster safely? To determine this, you need to know your industry and your activity. You need to know the forces at play, the effects on the human body, and the thresholds of your equipment, your staff, and participants themselves. You may have seen signage such as this at your visit to an amusement park. This sign is part of the amusement park's notification of risk and safety thresholds. It's posted for patrons to review and determine if riding a roller coaster would be safe. An individual can view this information and decide for themselves or self-select if it would be safe to ride. In addition to individuals being informed, staff and ride operators are informed. And in the event a roller coaster operator denies a ride to an individual who is wearing a neck brace, for example, the risk management decision is objectively and publicly spelled out. Notice that this signage is not labeled essential eligibility criteria, though it clearly highlights that participation may be unsafe or restricted under certain circumstances. The Americans with Disabilities Act is civil rights legislation that prohibits discrimination based upon disability, providing equal access to employment, transportation, and programs. As a provider of recreation programs, the integration mandate of the Americans with Disabilities Act is important legislation to be familiar with. It reads as such: no qualified individual with a disability shall, by reason of such disability, be excluded from participation in or be denied the benefits of the services, programs, or activities of a public entity, or be subjected to discrimination by any such entity. The integration mandate goes on to further clarify that programs must be provided in the most integrated setting possible. While many adapted sport and recreation organizations offer programs exclusively targeting participants with disabilities, in essence, we offer segregated programming. It is not the most integrated setting possible. All public or everyday programs fall within the jurisdiction of the integration mandate and must allow qualified individuals with disabilities the choice to participate. There is great value in the barrier-free access to adaptive recreation and sport opportunities, the access to adaptive equipment, disability-specific knowledge and expertise, in addition to peer-to-peer mentoring opportunities that our programs provide. The list of benefits our programs provide and the opportunities we create goes on and on. The integration mandate is not stating that we need to stop providing adaptive specific programming. It simply states that a qualified individual with a disability may not be denied the opportunity to participate in an everyday program. For example, a qualified individual with an intellectual or developmental disability cannot be denied the opportunity to join a community bowling league as a result of a local Special Olympics organization also running a bowling league within the community. That individual has the choice to participate in either league. I've been mentioning qualified individual, and as you may be asking yourself, don't all individuals with disabilities qualify for adaptive sport programs? The answer to that question is no. Having a disability does not automatically qualify an individual for safe participation in all adaptive programs or activities. The single purpose of essential eligibility criteria is to define qualified individual under the integration mandate. The jurisdictional threshold on the integration mandate only applies to individuals who can safely participate in the service, program, or activity referenced as qualified individuals. The integration mandate does not protect those individuals who cannot safely participate. Therefore, we may and must discriminate for safety in cases where participants do not meet EEC. Let's take a quick example. We'll take a quick look at an example of discrimination based upon safety. You may have seen signage such as this posted at a carnival or amusement park, requiring that you demonstrate you are at least this tall, but no taller than this, to ride this roller coaster. This is not discriminating against individuals with gigantism or dwarfism. This criteria is discriminating based upon safety, due to the configuration of the safety restraint system. Essential eligibility criteria are the essential functional thresholds for anyone to safely participate in a program, service, or activity. EEC must be applied to all potential participants, volunteers, and staff. If you are subjectively applying EEC only to individuals with disabilities, you are inherently utilizing EEC to discriminate based upon disability, which is precisely what EEC is designed to protect against. Having EEC documented helps avoid subjectivity and stereotyping. Subjectivity is demonstrated when EEC are applied inconsistently, and stereotyping is demonstrated when quick assumptions are made about an individual's ability with the risk of unfair or inaccurate assessments. We want to publish and adopt EEC for two reasons. First, potential participants can review the EEC and self-select a program they are qualified to participate in. And second, when we need to tell someone they cannot participate, or when we say no, we are helping safeguard ourselves and our organization from discrimination claims. EEC protect us only from discrimination suits arising when we deny someone the right to participate in a program, a service, or activity. If we publish properly formed EEC, then whenever we deny an individual's participation, we can point to a published standard and demonstrate a safety-based rationale for the decision. If someone meets all other program prerequisites, we can legally deny someone's participation only if the individual does not meet the EEC, and the EEC are essential functional thresholds for safe participation. We will talk about the difference between EEC and prerequisites and their importance in a bit. Right now, let's take a look at an example of EEC posted by the American Canoe Association as it is written for the activity of paddle sports. I apologize for the small print, but please know you will receive a handout with this information, and it is available on the American Canoe Association website for your reference. These EEC are activity-specific, safety-based, essential functional thresholds, well-written in non-discriminatory language. Let's read through these, as there is a bit of language I would like to clarify at the bottom of the document. So these EEC are written for participation in ACA courses. 1, breathe independently and not require medical devices to sustain breathing. EEC number 2, independently maintain sealed airway passages while underwater. The ability to independently hold your head upright without head or neck support. Manage personal care independently or with the assistance of a companion. Manage personal mobility independently with a reasonable amount of assistance. Following instructions and effectively communicate independently or with the assistance of a companion. To independently turn from face down to face up and remain floating face up while wearing a properly fitted life jacket. Getting in and out of a paddlecraft independently or with a reasonable amount of assistance. Independently getting out from under a capsized paddlecraft. To re-enter a paddlecraft following a deep water capsize independently or with a reasonable amount of assistance. And maintaining a safe body position while attempting skills, activities, and rescues listed in the appropriate course outline, and have the ability to recognize and identify to others when such efforts would be unsafe given your personal situation. Notice items 7 through 11 have an asterisk at the end, and the notation at the bottom, which I would like to clarify, states, to participate in adaptive programs, participants must acknowledge only the first 6 EEC listed above. Entry-level adaptive programs will involve teaching and practicing EECs number 7 through 11. I want to take this opportunity to clarify that this statement is not generic to all adaptive programs and should by no means be interpreted as such. The adaptive programs this notation is referencing are ACA adaptive paddling courses in which individuals have an opportunity to practice the EEC number 7 through 11 in a controlled environment of a pool session under the close supervision of a qualified staff, and must successfully demonstrate these skills prior to participation in an open water program or paddling opportunity. The ACA recognizes that an individual with a disability who is new to paddle sports or may have sustained a recent injury may benefit from time to learn and practice these skills. And they've worked this into providing opportunities to develop that skill mastery and continue to participate in additional paddling courses once those skills have been demonstrated. Water-based programming adds another element of risk and safety thresholds. Let's take a look at another example of EEC. As an organization that offers water ski programming, we at Northeast Passage have an obligation to provide safe programming under appropriate weather and water conditions with qualified staff and volunteers. We've established the following EEC for participation in our water ski programming. This criteria is derived from instruction guidelines in the Level 1 Adaptive Instructors Manual created and published by the Water Skiers with Disabilities Association and USA Water Ski. You may recognize some of the language. For EEC 1 through 6, similar to what you saw in the ACA EEC, you've got the ability to breathe independently and not require medical devices to sustain breathing. Independently maintain sealed airway passages while underwater. To independently hold head upright without head and neck support. To independently turn from face down to face up and remain floating face up while wearing a properly fitted life jacket. To get out of a capsized water ski independently when floating in deep water. And manage personal care independently or with the assistance of a companion. If an individual is unable to demonstrate each of EEC 1 through 5, the ski lesson will be discontinued, and we will spend some time working with an individual to develop these skills. An individual who is new to the sport or has recently acquired a disability, again, may benefit from time to practice these skills, time to practice turning from face down to face up in the water. We may try different styles of PFDs, different PFDs where buoyancy is placed differently among the jacket can be a make or break in someone being able to meet that EEC. We may try a type 1 PFD. Not all PFDs are created alike, and finding the right fit can be the key to meeting that EEC. If immersion in cold water is causing spasticity that may be inhibiting someone from demonstrating those EEC, we may recommend an individual practice this skill in a heated pool with a water safety instructor, or try again later in the season when the water is warmer. Just because an individual is not presently able to meet the EEC does not mean they wouldn't develop this skill over time. We've established EEC number 6, managing personal care independently or with the assistance of a companion, as our staff is not qualified with the proper training to safely assist an individual with this task. But it is more than reasonable to have a companion attend a water ski event to assist with personal care such as feeding, changing clothing, or toileting. These EEC are posted on our water ski program description on our website, and participants acknowledge that they meet the EEC upon registration. This EEC is included again in our electronic registration confirmations and printed in our water ski fitting forms that are completed as individuals are receiving their dry land instruction prior to getting on the water at an event. This ensures that all staff have the EEC in hand, are familiar with it, and are able to apply it consistently and in a standardized format at each program. We ask that individuals redemonstrate EEC 1 through 5 at the beginning of every ski season. If they've modified their ski or are trying a new piece of equipment, or if they've experienced a change in their medical status since their previous successful water test. As you begin your activity analysis to determine what functional thresholds are essential for safety, consider what it takes to participate. Getting into and out, what does it take to get into and out of a paddlecraft? Is there a particular distance, elevation, or temperature an individual would need to withstand or tolerate? Making quick safety judgments, properly wearing the industry standard safety gear. Can adaptive equipment or accommodations be used? What resources do you have available within your program? What is outside the threshold of what you are able to accommodate? And are there height and weight minimums or restrictions based upon what your volunteers and staff can safely assist in transferring, or the manufacturer specifications on your adaptive equipment resources? Question what cognitive or physical skills, abilities, or attributes are necessary for an individual to perform. Consider whether an individual must perform a task independently, or whether a companion, a staff member, or a volunteer could safely assist an individual in the completion of a task. And utilize resources for additional information, such as Coast Guard reports or publications by professional organizations to research the most likely causes of death or injury involved in an activity. For an organization facilitating paddle sport programming, a review of the 2016 recreational boating statistics will report the most common causes of fatality in paddle sport use is drowning, reporting victims who were and were not wearing PFDs. The most common cause of injuries, paddle sport injuries, being hypothermia, with additional reporting of dislocation, concussion, cuts, bruises, broken bones, etc. This report also highlights the most common contributing factors to paddle sport accidents, including operator inexperience and inattention, weather, hazardous waters, and alcohol use. Becoming a certified paddle sport instructor will help develop your awareness and management strategies to minimize these risks. Analyzing the inherent activity risk and the statistical likelihood and impact of an incident should it occur will help you evaluate your risk management strategies and determine the essential functional skills someone needs to participate safely. Consider the heuristics, or what you know from training and experience. Contact Disabled Sports USA or another governing organization to inquire about incident trending. Research what other similar organizations are utilizing for EEC and risk management. Activities that take place on water and activities that involve speed, terrain, and exposure have a higher probability and severity of consequences in the event of an incident. Wearing a seatbelt does nothing to prevent a collision. Wearing a helmet does nothing to prevent a fall. Wearing a PFD does nothing to prevent a capsize, does not get you out of the boat, and is not guaranteed to turn you face up in the water. There is a high probability of capsize in paddle sports, as long as the paddler meets all 11 established EEC for this activity and can perform functional skills such as independently getting themselves out from under the capsized paddlecraft, maintaining a safe body position when floating in the water, while wearing a properly fitted PFD, and re-enter the paddlecraft either independently or with the assistance of a safety boater, the consequences will likely be minor. An individual who does not have the capacity to form these functional safety skills would likely experience severe consequences such as aspiration or drowning. The ability to wear properly fitted industry standard safety equipment, such as a cycling helmet, a seat belt, a climbing harness, a personal flotation device designed to help minimize the severity of consequences in the event of an incident is essential safety, as are the necessary cognitive and physical skills, abilities, and attributes. With assumption of risk, the aspect of challenge by choice, we've determined that an individual meets the EEC for that program, and now the decision to participate is theirs, that challenge by choice decision. We have an obligation to inform of the additional risks that are involved through the inherent participation in that activity. So although an individual may meet the EEC, they may still sustain an injury by participating due to the inherent risk of that activity. Your liability waiver likely has language outlining all the atrocities that may occur through participation in that activity. But in my experience, very few folks sit down and read through it completely. So taking the time to become knowledgeable of the most common injuries that occur and the unique consideration of an individual's disability can help ensure that you're providing comprehensive information to participants and preventive risk management strategies within your program. There is one aspect of EEC that we have not yet discussed. If an individual does not meet your EEC and is therefore not qualified to participate, but is allowed to participate regardless. In other words, if you say yes when you should say no, if an individual who is not qualified is allowed to participate in your program and there's an incident or harm, an investigation may result in evaluating your organization's compliance with industry standard best practices, reviewing aspects of program management, training, adherence to policy, procedure, and EEC. The four elements of negligence are duty, breach, harm, and causation between the breach and the harm. If we say yes to someone who does not meet the EEC and they get hurt, then we have proven two of the four elements of negligence for that person. EEC are a self-published list of duty, and saying yes to someone who does not meet the EEC is, per se, breach of that duty. People with disabilities who meet the essential eligibility criteria may not be denied the right to participate in an activity. You must inform of risks involved and enable someone to make an informed challenge by choice decision. Having equal opportunity to reach the goal, to try to circumnavigate the island, summit the mountain, or achieve certification. However, meeting the EEC does not automatically guarantee that an individual would be able to successfully complete a program or complete a certification to reach the intended outcome of that program. For example, an individual who meets the EEC to participate in a kayak instructor certification program is not guaranteed to successfully complete all components of the program and may not achieve the desired certification. EEC is about equalizing opportunity, not about standardizing outcomes. Equal opportunity does not guarantee equal outcome. In working to develop EEC, take an opportunity to review the published EEC that is available to you and see what you can utilize and build from. There are a number of organizations that have published EEC on their websites, the American Canoe Association being one of them. REI Outdoor School has an extensive list of criteria that they have available. You may find that there's some content around EEC or program prerequisites that you could build from. Appalachian Mountain Club has a list of criteria, and other adaptive sports programs such as DCR's Universal Access Program in Massachusetts all have posted criteria on their websites that you can search and review. Obtaining professional organization membership is a great way to get to know the industry and stay up to date on risk management and essential eligibility criteria. And continuing your education around attending conferences, taking a course, listening to a webinar, and acquiring certification training are all really good places to start when you're determining what essential functional thresholds are important to participate safely in an activity. All properly formed EEC must be safety-based, functional thresholds, and essential. They're generally written to be activity-specific. So the ACA has written theirs regarding paddle sports. The same EEC is applicable for participation, whether it's a kayaking class, a stand-up paddleboarding, canoeing, whitewater rafting. The same base of EEC is applied across programs. Editing for simplicity and being mindful that the language you use is written in non-discriminatory terms. So using language like traverse uneven terrain versus walk over uneven terrain. Ascend instead of climb. To be able to identify versus see. Using non-discriminatory language and making sure that everything is safety-based, is a functional threshold, and essential. So think for a moment, can we legally include this EEC for kayak programs where the only option is to launch off of a floating dock? Participants must be able to transfer to seated position on floating dock and move from dock into a floating kayak with minimal assistance from others. Can we legally include this EEC for this program? And the answer is yes. This EEC excludes from participation based upon the unique environmental factors and staff and participant safety. You want to develop EEC for your programs that account for the type of venue that you are using, operating within the essential functional safety thresholds of what your staff can accommodate on a consistent basis, the thresholds of your equipment, and you can tailor these. You may have two different sets of EEC within your paddle sport program. At this one venue, you may have an extra set of criteria for this venue. As you are reviewing published EEC and developing your own, I encourage you to be mindful of the difference between EEC prerequisites and program descriptions and goals. You may find these are intermixed at times, and if you start doing an internet search, you'll see that there's a lot of information intermixed. While prerequisites are important, they are not EEC and should be kept separate. Prerequisites are defined as skills, attributes, or training that exceed the essential functional threshold necessary for safe participation. Examples include setting a minimum age requirement, requiring a payment of a fee, or having successfully completed a previous training. An individual who meets the EEC for paddle sports cannot participate in a level 4 class unless they have successfully completed the prerequisite skills from a level 3 class. Payment of a fee has no impact on an individual's ability to meet the functional safety thresholds. You may decide to waive a participation fee to alleviate financial hardship. EEC cannot be waived. Age, in and of itself, is not an essential functional threshold, but a measure of time in which we assume an individual will have developed a level of maturity, judgment, or physical development. While age is a commonly used prerequisite, and for valid reasons, it is not EEC. A volunteer instructor within your programs must meet the EEC and be at least 18 years of age. This is a requirement of your insurance company that assumes an instructor who is at least 18 years of age has the maturity of judgment to be able to perform that job task with success. Other examples, the United States Power Soccer Association has set a prerequisite minimum age of 5 years to participate or compete in power soccer. The assumption here is that an individual who's at least 5 years of age will have developed a certain level of control in driving their power chair. You may have activities in your program that have no need or no EEC that you are able to identify due to the inherent safety of the activity. In this instance, it is tempting for folks to write things like, the only EEC for this program is the desire to participate or to have fun. And this is not safety-based and should not be labeled as EEC. For example, one does not need to want to mow their lawn or enjoy mowing their lawn to perform the activity safely. Regarding seamless integration, once someone has confirmed that they meet the EEC when they register for your program, you want to have a system of gathering medical information and a means of identifying what participants would benefit from accommodations or outfitting. What disability-specific considerations do you want to be prepared for? Being mindful, what medication side effects? Is there a sensitivity to sunlight that would affect participation in an outdoor program? Seizure risk, allergy, heat or cold sensitivity. Being mindful that this information is confidential and you don't want to disclose this information without an individual's permission, but making sure you have enough information to make the adjustments in your facilitation and your risk management plans, and leaving yourself enough time to prepare for adaptations, taking into account the equipment you have available and the what ifs of your risk management plans. You can restructure an activity and still meet the needs of the group and the goals that you had anticipated and wanted to accomplish as an organization. In summary, EEC enables objective assessment about who can participate safely on the basis of functional abilities, reduces case-by-case subjective determinations, and thereby helps protect you from discrimination claims. If an individual does not meet EEC, then the risk management decision is objectively spelled out and documented. If you have posted this EEC in all of your program materials on your website, in your confirmations, and made it part of your staff training so everyone is using it consistently. If a participant does not meet EEC, if they do meet the EEC, that individual gets to decide whether to participate in your program or not, that challenge by choice decision. And you want to make sure to inform of risks involved and enable that participant to make an informed decision. I've listed a number of references here that will be available in your presentation materials. I encourage you to look through any of them if you are developing your own EEC for your programs, and continue to research the types of resources that people are utilizing within their programs. If anyone has additional questions following up this opportunity, I encourage you to reach out.